welcome back to the cellblock Scorch. This week it's me, Octo, coming at you with episode 251A. The prompt for this week was, "It's hard to wake someone pretending to sleep." This was given by Bones, and I honestly, when I started writing it, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I ended up doing something for Janie, who you all possibly know and hopefully kind of love. I'll get more into it after I read it to you. The title of this is called A Slight Problem. He'd had a lot of time to think recently. Nothing but him, the occasional hare, and the cold, white tundra for miles and miles. Was this another attempt to get rid of the problem? Or was the man who left him here just terrible at geography? Iceland, Greenland, so close together, and yet so drastically different. At this particular moment, he was starfished out on the ground, seeing how deep a snow layer he could gather above himself before he cracked and started pacing again. His current record was no more than a half-inch. The stars were breathtaking out here, no civilization blocking them out. He stared up into the cosmos and wondered if eternity would feel like this, like his gaze spiraling to the edge of the galaxy and beyond, and beyond, and beyond, into the black between stars. If it would be effortless, if it would be incomprehensible, if he'd ever be able to tear himself away. He'd contemplated life plenty while lying and pacing and even digging at one point. Bad plan that, no shovel. But he hadn't managed to look death in the eye as of yet. A little funny, considering his personal experience with it. You'd think it'd be old hat at this point to think of dying. He'd died of stab wounds. He'd died of gunshots. He'd drowned, bled out, burned, asphyxiated, froze, starved, and yet here he sat, still alive. Oh, not in the moment, of course. He definitely died. No bones about that. But after. Always, always alive. But, staring up into that great big nothingness between stars, he had a thought. Perhaps, just perhaps, he'd been thinking about this all wrong. He thought of his mother. She was driven to despair by his older brother who, at the slightest provocation, would pretend to sleep so deeply that nothing would wake him up. It got him out of chores, awkward social gatherings, and even a test he forgot to study for once. She thought he had some sort of bizarre disease, had taken him to doctors and specialists, but you couldn't cure stubbornness and a penchant for feigning unconsciousness with pills and surgeries. He tried that trick himself once, but didn't have the fortitude to snore through being rolled off the bed. The point was, it was hard to wake someone pretending to sleep. Perhaps, allegorically speaking, if that was how that word worked, that realization could be applied elsewhere. You can't wake someone who isn't asleep. You can't turn off something that isn't on. You can't kill something that isn't alive. So, just maybe, he wasn't able to die because he'd already gone and done it. He screwed up his one shot due to some badly timed decisions, and now he was stuck here. Forever. Kind of like how space went on forever around the stars shining in the sky. Instead of falling deeper into depression at the thought, he found it weirdly comforting. He wasn't alive anymore. He was a zombie. A ghoul. A thing that kept going past its expiration date. No wonder he was spooling out and tying himself in knots. Have you ever met something dead that behaved like the living would prefer? They could dump him in rivers and throw him out plains into tundras, and even shove him into furnaces if it made them feel better, but he wasn't alive, so they couldn't kill him, and he couldn't manage it himself either. There had been this doubt, a teeny, wriggling little thing keeping him frozen, that he just wouldn't wake up one of these days. But that, obviously, wasn't going to be the case. What a relief! That meant he could get off this God's forsaken island. He stood, shaking off the piddly layer of powder he'd managed to accrue during his musings, and began to walk. He'd reach the ocean eventually, and it wouldn't be able to stop him any more than his brothers had. Time to get going.
Hey guys, it's Bones with Judge Comments. This was a fun week for me. I got submissions from Red, Rev, and Octo. Rev and Red both interpreted the prompt literally, and I really liked Red's. It was a Sleeping Beauty retelling, and I'm sure based on the prompt you can understand what the twist in that one was. But in the end, Octo won because she was the only one who interpreted the prompt in a more abstract manner, as it was, intended as a proverb, which obviously it's a Tagalog proverb. It's not one that they no one knew it except me. But yeah, I guess it's not surprising that not everyone was like, oh, I see the, proverb type implications of this statement, but it was sad for me because that's what I wanted. But also, I am just an absolute sucker for Janie. I love him and his dissociative depressive spirals, and the way they're written is just delightful. So that's why Octo won this week. And that's all I have to say, so I'll hand you back to Octo.
There you go. This piece is essentially just the moment where it all snaps together for Janie, I don't know if we've really gone into what is his problem, so I'm going to give you a spark notes. I can never remember what I say, That's how it goes. Basically, Janie is immortal. Alright, he is immortal. He cannot die. Well, he can die. He just doesn't stay dead. For various reasons. He was cursed. Here's what happened, okay? He accidentally, on purposely, took a death curse to save one of his brothers. He says it was an accident, but it was probably on purpose. You know how it goes. And then his brother, who can manipulate time, kind of froze him in time. Because he panicked and didn't want him to die horribly. And then we went around and fixed him with some handy-dandy life magic, essentially, to cancel out the, bad mojo magic. So the bad killing magic and the good life magic and the neutral time magic all bonded together into one horrible thing. And he's essentially a little time capsule of himself. So he eventually returns to the state that he was originally in when the spell was cast, which is alive. So he doesn't stay dead. He's had several crises about this. This particular scene, I don't know if it actually will go down like this, but essentially, due to several events happening at once and incredible panic, he commits a murder, which is bad, and his brother's like, oh, I got this, I'll save you, it'll be fine, and he just kind of yeets him backward in time so he doesn't go to jail, which is not a great way to deal with your problem sibling. And this here is Janie kind of synthesizing all of that problems that he is having and realizing that there's nothing anyone can really do to him, actually, and he's fine. And this just kind of shapes his personality through the entire book. When I eventually write this book, this is like prequel material. You will not see it except for in perhaps a flashback. The Janie that you meet has already had this realization and has decided that he's not a real person anymore because he's a dead thing and can do whatever he wants, which is sort of a problematic way to free yourself from the bonds of society, but whatever works for him, And I don't know, the prompt this week was interesting. I didn't actually know what I wanted to do with it because there's a lot of ways you can take this. I ended up going with this, though, because, I don't know, I always write for Janie when I get into a philosophical mood. He's very philosophical little guy. He just contemplates the universe all the time. It's what he does. And so when I start contemplating the universe and what this phrase could possibly mean, he gets to too. He gets to have all my little crises for me and think about stuff. So I won't say so I don't have to, because I have to write it down. So I don't have to deal with the consequences. He can have all of that and have his own little nihilistic realizations, and I can put him back in his box and we're cool. But yeah, I really enjoy him as a character. I think he's very interesting to write and to figure out how he would react in situations, because he's kind of base unhinged. There's something deeply wrong with him, and I love him. Okay, so for next week, I gave the prompt, if I can find my prompt, the consumption of ruin. This is a little funny because I believe the last prompt I told you that I gave was feasting upon moonlight. But I want you to know that was given like 2 years later, at least. I'm not actually following a theme here. Again, I just think that eating things that shouldn't be eating is an interesting plot, development that can happen. Also, that 100% was, that's a word salad that I got out of the word generator. I was like, I like this word salad, an excellent word salad. And Styx won that one with the cool little sci-fi piece that I really enjoyed, because, as we all know, I am a sucker for interesting sci-fi aliens. I'm sure you haven't noticed. But that is it for me. I hope you enjoyed it, and that you will enjoy Styx's next week. Keep that fire burning.
The Cellblock Scorch is a production of Stellacore, an independent group of nerds sharing their obsessions with the world. Links to all our projects, including Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube, Patreon, and Ko-Fi, can be found on our Linktree, posted in each episode description. Follow us on Tumblr or Instagram to see the prompt of the day before the episode drops, and a quote from each Scorch the day after. If you would like to support our creative endeavors, you can give a one-time tip to the Ko-Fi of the writer of your favorite Scorches, or check out our Patreon. There, you can access the Scorches and episode transcripts for free, or sign up for Spark level support for $5 a month to gain access to our embers as well.